installment of the Slammer Bros podcast. I'm Jack Slammer. With me, as always, is my non-kayfabe brother, Steve Slammer. Steve, how was your day so far today, buddy?
It's doing pretty good. I had no idea we were turning three. It feels like just yesterday. It was
If
actually a couple days before yesterday, but hey, things are going good. Bitcoin is over 40,000 again, so
Boom.
that's good. The heat wave here on the East Coast is breaking up a little bit because, I'm under a tornado watch right now.
Oh, really? You're under tornado watch.
I am. So,
Th-
hopefully the feed doesn't die here because I know that we have a lot to talk about today. But, with the heat wave breaking here and, it seems like things in the world that we love so much is heating up. We're 23 days out from SummerSlam in Las Vegas.
Yes, we are. 23 days away from SummerSlam in Las Vegas. Weights, again, are at a reasonable price. So today I actually just said fuck it, and I bought a home gym today. So I bought a squat rack, I bought the dumbbells, I bought a leg extension machine, and I'm probably gonna add some other nifty things to the home gym as well. So I was just looking. Weights are no longer being price gouged at this moment in time, but I do live in California and things might get locked down again, so I got to be prepared. But that's here nor there.
Well, you're
23. Oh,
you're an animal, man. Home gym? Jeez.
dude, that's the thing. I just remember, though, having to prepare for a bodybuilding show with only like 3 pairs of dumbbells, an adjustable bench, and rubber bands, and one of those door dumbbell, one of those hanging pull-up bars. And that's amazing, an amazing workout if you're, just getting in shape like I help my clients do with Slammer Fitness. But in our case, when you're trying to compete in a bodybuilding show, that's not the most ideal solution. But I still managed to get the win. But I had to throw that out there. But Steve, I have to go back to the whole weather thing. So you're having a heat wave and a tornado. Have they even had a tornado in New Jersey like ever?
Well, it's funny because a friend of mine sent me a TikTok right before this, and it appeared to be a massive tornado outside of Citizens Bank Park. So I'm right outside Philadelphia. I believe that might be a doctored video, perhaps. But yes, I have seen tornadoes limited in scope. Because we're not out in the plains as if it was Kansas. But
Yeah.
yeah, we do get them here from time to time, and it just seems like lately, with the heat waves being the way that they were, like into the 90 degrees, and then it just breaks with massive thunderstorms and a little bit of tornado watch. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Well, yeah, and I also have to comment. You have definitely upped your background game since the last show. Well, the first show you didn't bother to make your bed.
Okay,
Second
so
show
hang
you
on, no, hang on. So that was supposed to be a test of the software, and then at the end you're like, oh, by the way, I'm just going to air this, and it's like, well, great, bed's not made, whatever, man, just go for it. I see what you did. You set me up, the first time, a little double cross, like in the biz, but it's all good. But anyway, continue.
That was not a double cross. I'm giving you a compliment here. Every single show you have stepped your game up. Now, then you made your bed and you added a headset. And your headset's way better than my headset. And then you didn't give me the memo that we were supposed to bring our championship belts, and there you are with the coveted AEW TNT Championship of the World. And is that like an exact replica, or is that a toy version?
Oh no, this is no toy.
Oh,
I don't collect toys, sir. I have
oh,
I have a modest belt collection.
a modest belt collection. How many? Tell the people at home how many belts you have.
Ooh, probably 12 right now.
12 championships. And for those of you, and this is probably going to break the surprise, but Steve basically showed me every single belt that he owned when he told me that we're going to SummerSlam, and he said pick one. And
Oh yeah.
for me, and we'll probably get into this later on, like as these podcasts progress, Macho Man Randy Savage is my number one. That's my GOAT. And if I'm gonna rock a belt as a 32-year-old man, as well everybody should at 32, you should do it at 63 in my opinion. It has to be the Intercontinental Championship, because that reminds me of the Steamboat match, and that's the one I gotta rock. Like, I have to rock that belt.
It is a wise choice, sir. It is a very wise choice.
Well, we complain about this every time. For me, I would say it was the mid to late 80s Intercontinental Championship was probably one of the most beautiful belts I've ever seen in my life. That would be the one where, even if I was with the company, right, and I was just the IC champion, I would almost be like, don't bump me. Just let me stay here. Let me keep this belt. All right, so jam-packed show for today. We had, this time around, I actually got to watch all 2 hours of AEW, and honestly, man, I think AEW tested our theory. It was 2 hours worth of wrestling. When I felt bored on those little, like, a few of those moments that just didn't hit for me, it was one of those times when it was like, oh, I only got 45 more minutes of this, as opposed to watching Raw, where you'd be like, hey, I got an hour and 45 minutes of my life I have to give for this crap. But we're going to start with the opening segment of the match. I don't want to talk about the match itself. I would love to get your opinion on Hangman Page and Dark Order's. So let me set the stage for everybody. The opening match of AEW Dynamite yesterday was the Elite, which consists of Kenny Omega's team, who's the current heavyweight champion of the world, and against a guy named Hangman Page and the Dark Order. It was set for a 10-man elimination tag team match, and I want to know what your thoughts were just on that opening sequence with Hangman Page and Dark Order before they entered. Just the presentation itself, how'd you feel about it?
Well, the continued miscasting of the Dark Order continues, and I'm sorry. They're clearly pushing Hangman Adam Page into the world title picture. He's had this long-running thing with Omega back when they were the tag champions, and now they're moving into this heavyweight championship storyline. So they open with this video of the cowboy, doing the cowboy stuff, and his tag team partners are 3 guys in an S&M mask and John Silver. So right away I'm like, something doesn't work here. But then we get Omega and the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks coming out as the Toon Squad. Is that what that was?
I think it was. They were clearly doing a Space Jam promo. That was paid advertising at its finest. That was Tony Khan not wasting a chance to cash a check. That's what that was.
Sure it was, but why are the bad guys coming in dressed that way? Because three of them are executive vice presidents of the company.
Damn, I did not know that part. So here was my initial thoughts on the entrances. At first, because you got to remember, and for those of you watching at home, AEW for me was like, hey, I'm flipping through the channel. It's on. Oh, this match looks great. I'm going to watch a little bit of it, and I'll catch bits and pieces of it. This was the first time I ever caught the full product of AEW. And for me, I actually, while I do agree there was some miscasting in terms of cowboys, because if you're going to take the cowboy approach, then you need to have some guys who look like cowboys. That's one thing. But I will say, the production value of this thing it got me hooked at first, because I was like, holy crap, this feels like a UFC fight that's going to happen, right? And then the Hangman's team, they come out all dignified with the hand signal. It looks cool. The lighting, they come walking out like badasses. That part's great. Then to your point, the heels come out. And these are supposed to be the bad guys that we're all rooting against. They're actually making this kind of a fun entrance. Like, they're having a good time and it's fun. And part of me's thinking, why are they putting like four pieces of metal out there right now, and by pieces of metal I mean the championships out, because you got the Young Bucks, the tag team champions. Kenny Omega's the champ, and then they had one other champion out there. Who was that, Steve?
Well, Hank. Well, no. I mean, well, the Good Brothers there, Gallows and Anderson, they're the Impact Tag Team Champions. But I
Yeah.
guess the continued dumping on Impact is continuing because those titles are not even mentioned. But that's a whole other that's a whole other issue. But Omega is the world champion, but he's also the AAA Mega champion. He's also the Impact Heavyweight champion. So he's got a lot of belts. That's his thing right now. He's the belt collector.
The belt collector. Okay.
Not on the level of me, but he is the belt collector right now.
All right. So for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, first they're dribbling basketballs like they're being introduced like as though they're a basketball team. They come out, they start like shooting shots, dunking the ball. This would be like goofy baby faces, not something I would expect from your world champion and your tag team champions. This almost feels like the miscast group, the Hangman Page squad, should have almost done this, and this should have almost been kind of a reversal of feels here, is the way I felt about it. I would say, though, I did have fun during the opening entrances, but then the match came, and I like a little bit of silliness, because I get it. It's the opening match. You're trying to get everybody to have fun, and we're going to get into some dark stuff later on in the show, so let's just set the tone, lighten the mood, and then slowly drift into darkness. Bro, on what planet do just 5 guys like magically just miss the suplex and then everybody else just hits the same reversal? It was like totally choreographed. There was high spots for the sake of high spots. And before I'm gonna let you give your thoughts, I'm gonna save the one thing that pissed me off about this match just entirely, and then just ruin the whole thing. But I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, nothing about the story and the way that this was booked makes sense. So it's the opening match, and I get it. They're trying to be fun, get the crowd into it, and the crowd was into it. However, you're leaving out the fact that there were 2 stipulations attached to this match. The first is that if the Dark Order and Hangman Page win, then the Dark Order gets a World Tag Team title match against the Bucks. And the converse of that is also that if Page and his crew lose, then Page does not get his World Championship match with Kenny Omega. So, first of all, I can't stand the logic of babyface #1 contenders putting their #1 contender spot on the line. It makes no sense. It's stupid. I think the logic is that they're supposed to be, because they're good guys, then they'll take on all challengers. There's a difference between being a babyface and being brave and just being stupid. That's just stupid. But to your point, the 4-way simultaneous suplex in the ring, and then they get on the outside, and then the Bucks, or one of the Bucks, does the superplex off the ring post onto the floor where the other 8 guys just so happen to be standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It looked overly fake. And there were no rules. I mean, those guys were in the ring like left and right. And as a matter of fact, there was, because they like to crap all over their referees, there was one spot where they actually handed one of the supposed baby faces one of his legs to the referee, and the referee assisted in having the bad guys get a spot in on the good guys. It made no sense.
No, it made no sense whatsoever. I would go a little bit deeper on this match. I mean, first off, it was too damn long. It was 32 minutes, all high spots. And here's what made it totally, I mean, because, okay, look, folks, we understand that these are scripted contests, but you need to be able to suspend your belief. And what made me just completely out of it is no one had control of this entire match, because there's a certain flow to a tag match where, hey, once you tag in your partner, you both can gang up on the guy for about 5 seconds, then the other guy has to go back on the other side of the ropes, right? Or it's similar to that. Basically, towards the end of the match, Young Bucks would just jump in and just beat the crap out of Hangman Page anytime they wanted to. So the ref had no control. And by that point, I'm like, well, why don't they just run in there, hold him down, just beat the crap out of him, and then just hold him down and get the pin? Because clearly there's no rules here. So weak refereeing, and even Jim Ross brought it up. Jim Ross is like, hey, with this, you should have like 2 or 3 referees in the match. And what is the rule
bro, real quick. Jim Ross was the MVP, not just of this match of the show, because to your point, about a minute in, when all hell breaks loose, because we're only a minute in, and Jim Ross said something to the effect of, "Oh, the referee has completely lost control. That never happens here." And actually, you get credit for paying attention, because later, during the FTR match, he actually made it a point to point out that FTR actually uses the tag ropes, and I was just like, I just love that, and it's almost like he's crapping on the product, but in a passive aggressive way, and I just get a kick out of his commentary during this. But anyway, you were saying.
No, I'm just saying that ruined it for me. What I will say, the one good thing that I think this match did do, and it's gonna make me pay closer attention to Hangman Page, because I do feel like they did get him over. He had to deal with some heels who were cheating. This made me like the guy a bit more. I was cheering for him because I was stuck watching this freaking bullcrap match. He did what he could to save it. The work that he did was good. I just feel like Kenny Omega's movesets are a bit cartoony at times. Plus, for me, here's the thing, and I think this is a problem. Like, maybe Kenny Omega is fixable like Roman Reigns was, but I get the vibe with Kenny. It's like, this guy is not a main card guy. He shouldn't be carrying the belt. He's a mid-card dude. And if you ran him like a mid-card guy with this gimmick, I think it would be way more over, at least with guys like us, because your expectations would be lower. But this is not the guy to carry your belt. I'm hoping that he's just keeping it warm for a guy like Hangman Page, because I'm looking at this dude and I'm like, hey, you know what? This guy could be a champion. He's not bad on the mic. He's good in the ring. His moveset is that of a wrestler who I could see in a main event. So that's the one good thing, bright spot of this match. And I will say there were moments I was mildly entertained. Like, I do appreciate a good high spot when it makes sense. None of it made sense, but, I do appreciate good athleticism.
You mean a high spot like the springboard, grab the basketball, slam dunk through the basketball net, completely missed the dunk, spike tombstone pile driver on the ring floor?
You know what? That was creative. That was one of the spots where I was like...
It was creative, but stupid.
It was creative but stupid, but I mean, the whole match was fucking stupid, so, you might as well try. The cool spot I liked, though, and I my apologies for not knowing the wrestler's name, these were the two guys, they went and they fought in the crowd, and then I loved how the one dude actually got on the barricade with the crowd behind him and actually jumped jumped off with the flying attack. That was pretty cool. And then they both got counted out. So I was like, wait. So you got count outs here, but you can't keep the right people on the other side of on the ropes and actually make people use the tags. I hope they don't do a match like this again, unless they have more referees, or at least an enforcer outside. Like, try to make this thing to where it has some semblance of rules. That's what I would say. I'm going to hold my letter grade. What was your letter grade on this match?
Well, so before I get to my letter grade, I have to respectfully disagree with you on a few things.
Okay, let's see it.
So you made a comment about Adam Page got over. I think Adam Page is over, and I think that this match absolutely cut his legs out from underneath him.
Really?
So Adam Page is the number one contender for the world title. He puts his number one contender spot on the line in this match. So if he loses, he doesn't get the title match. And then he loses. Now I think that they think that it's just him overcoming adversity, and they're doing this side angle where he's questioning himself and he's not good enough. But the bottom line is you could have accomplished that without writing yourself narratively into the corner of he just gave up his world title match.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with you.
Now, based on other things that are happening, which we're going to get to as we talk about this, I'm wondering if they're actually backing off the Adam Page world title push right now.
Oh, because they got a certain person coming back
They
from
have a couple certain someone's
people's
coming in the
coming
door,
back.
and if your champion is the super over babyface Adam Page, homegrown talent, homegrown as a 2-year company can be, what is that going to do for the big ticket, big money guys that you're about to bring in who are going to be incredibly over?
Yeah.
So I think that this, I didn't get the feeling that it was them completely stopping it. I got the feeling that they were hitting pause on it right now. And that's a shame because that just means that you're delaying the story, which they've been working on, slow burn for a while now since they were the tag team champions. And it makes me wonder, where do they go from here? So, everything about this seemed designed to diminish him. The continued engagement of the Dark Order, which I do not understand at all. And then, like I said, putting his title match on the line, he loses the match. And it doesn't matter how he lost the match. He lost the match. He doesn't have the title shot anymore. So where are they going to go from here? What's he going to come out next week and demand it? Omega's the heel. He'll say, no, piss off. So, so I don't know. So, with that being said, I like I like action. I'm not necessarily one of those people that likes like a lot of mat wrestling. I like to be mixed up. But this completely, again, I said it during the Raw preview that we did, this insulted my intelligence in ways that I can't even begin to comprehend. The spot with the basketball hoop and the spike pile driver, this did not work for me. I don't know what they're going to do with Page from here. I get the sense, like I said, that they're just putting pause on it, and that's a shame. So with that being said, if you want me to grade the match, I know you're going to disagree with me. I have to give it an F.
You're giving it an F. Okay. No, I don't disagree with certain parts. Like so, the part with Paige now being put on ice, that's the part that I missed about the match itself. So I missed the preview there. So knowing that information, I have a somewhat different perspective here. Me as a guy just watching this product, not knowing who this guy was, this Page guy, that's the guys I was looking at it where I was like, okay, who is he? I don't know who you are, but you look like a guy who could be a champion. Then I see you overcoming a little bit of adversity throughout the match. You almost come back. Heels have to cheat to beat you. And now that I know the information that you put forward just there, which is Punk and Daniel Bryan are coming back, are coming to AEW, I should say. And those two guys are gonna, if they do it right, are gonna enter in the building from two different sides and
I,
somehow meet in the middle.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was no announcement of this. What are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
yeah. Well, we will get to that portion into the later of the show, but we'll save that, right? We will save the big reveal. Okay, so you give it an F. Me, I don't disagree with you that much. So basically, I'm gonna give it a D, and the reason why I'm giving it a D is because I like the beginning entrances because it got me hooked at least a little bit. Not the stupid basketball thing, but at least the serious promo. It made it actually feel like, okay, this is a TV product. They care about their product, or they can at least do something with this product, right? Then the stupid fucking Space Jam thing came, and I'm like, all right, you got to make your money, whatever. And then I was under the guise of, okay, this is a opening match. Normally these are just to like kind of set the mood, the tone. I liked some of the spots. For me as a person who did not know the full story, it made me like Paige more. So I got to give it a D.
Well, and again, right? I mean that's my opinion. I
Yep.
mean, and these matches and the way that they're drawn out, they obviously affect different people differently, and everyone has an opinion on where they're going, and the only way
Yeah.
we're going to be able to find out is to watch. But what I will say is the F for me is not about the effort, because obviously these guys work hard and
Yeah.
they try to come up with creative things. The problem is that from the entrance to the spots to the finish, this match seemed designed to me to do, hey, we're going to do a bunch of cool things without any thought as to who is doing the cool things and how it fits into the roles that they're playing and the narrative that they're trying to establish here. If you want somebody to do the goofy Space Jam entrance, let the Dark Order do it. They're a bunch of jokes anyway. You know,
Absolutely.
why does why do the bad guys, the bad guy champion, the bad guy tag team champions, and the Good Brothers, why do they have to come in to get ready for this and the Space Jam stuff and the stupid, goofy nonsense with the basketball hoop? It's because they just want to do cool things, and it doesn't matter the fact that, in my opinion, and you know, you feel free to disagree, and you did, right? You know, you felt like it made Page more sympathetic. To me, they completely buried him.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, though, I felt that way because I had not known what you were. So this is kind of like a first person's perspective who doesn't know like the full storyline going back. So I could totally see how we can go from different conclusions there because we're both entering from two different spots, right? You have more information on these characters. Me, I used this first episode to kind of get a lay of the land and see, okay, who's who, what's what. Um,
You know
but
what? You know what? I've changed my mind because I also remember, and I took a note, and that jogged my memory. Don Callis on commentary did refer to Kenny Omega as the Michael Jordan of professional wrestling. Now I'm going to assume he meant the baseball playing Michael Jordan. So with that being said, I will upgrade my score to an F plus.
F plus. There we go, baby. See, this is how peaceful, respectful debates happen between two smart marks / brothers. Okay, so this next segment, I fucking hated it, but you might have a different perspective. This was Ricky Stark's celebration for winning the FTW championship. Since you have a better lay of the land here, why don't you set up with why is this guy celebrating, the entrance to the celebration, and why I, as somebody who's just tuning in the first time, should give a fuck about this guy.
Well, you shouldn't because I don't, right? If you remember back during our Raw preview or during our Raw review, and I asked you the question about, you know, why should I care about who the 24/7 champion is?
Yeah.
Why should I care about who the FTW champion is?
Okay, so for
Like,
those, so let's back up 1 second. What is the FTW belt?
so the FTW championship, the fuck the world title, is from ECW in the late 1990s, back when Taz was having his feud and he couldn't quite win the ECW championship, so he created his own FTW World Heavyweight Championship. And so because AEW sometimes feels like, you know, a mishmash of things that we liked from the past brought into the present, they bring Taz in. Taz starts this stable. It starts with Brian Cage, you know, that big jacked, you know, Mongo looking fucking guy. And then they bring in, you know, Ricky Starks, and they start to build the stable, right? So they've been doing this slow burn with Brian Cage slowly turning babyface for some reason. I have no idea. And then it culminates in Ricky Starks defeating Brian Cage for the FTW championship. So for me, they're all in the same stable. So what's the benefit of being the FTW champion? Like I don't understand it.
Is this another situation that we talked about with our Raw review, where it's like, hey, they feel like if they just put a belt on somebody, it'll instantly up their value and get them over?
No, I think in this case it's just it's really just a prop, right? So they I mean all titles are, but you know, in this case it's even more so because it's really, I guess, meant to symbolize the leader of Team Taz. And Team Taz loses all their matches, so you know, being the best of a bunch of shit doesn't really make you in any meaningful way. But I will say that the one thing about this segment is the moment I saw the marching band come out, I knew they were all getting messed up. I knew it. And then watching Cage come out and break that drum over that guy's head.
Yeah.
And then I was afraid of what he was going to do when he grabbed the trombone off of that guy. But, you know, the segment did what it was supposed to do, in that it furthered the storyline between Cage and Starks. The real question is why does anyone care about it? It beats me. You know, I don't really care about Team Taz. I love Taz. I don't really care about Team Taz. I don't really care about the guys involved. Brian Cage, the babyface, doesn't do anything for me. And the championship, let's just say it's not one in my collection. So, with that said, if I had to grade it, I would just give it a C because it was just there. They didn't execute poorly. They did what they had to do. They're advancing their mid-card story, but I don't know why anyone really cares about it.
Yeah, so I will give my opinion, and then maybe I'll bury it a little bit worse. But I always kind of know if you go through the links of bringing a marching band out, and I heard no boos, I heard no cheers. Maybe it was because everybody was up getting popcorn from the match previous because they just put these people through 35 minutes of bullshit from open to bell. But I'm watching this, and this guy is just saying cliche heel stuff, poorly written. I don't care about you. The belt looks like crap, so it is crap, and now, according to you, it's crap. Then you got this guy, Brian Cage, who looks nothing like a babyface. Comes out and does some heel shit. It's like, okay, I get you want to beat up that guy, but the marching band, they did nothing to you. But that's totally a heel move. And then breaking the dude's trumpet. Yeah, this is a storyline that I was introduced to for the first time. I don't care about it. I love me some Taz, but this guy, this Ricky Starks guy, just does not do it for me. I'm gonna give this another D. So this segment gets a D for me.
I think this might be the first time since we've been doing this, and we go back 3 whole episodes now, that you've graded a segment higher than I have. So
lower than you have, you mean?
Well, yeah, but you're we're getting mellow in our old age, apparently.
We are getting mellow in our old age. Yes, that is correct.
Well, sir, if you can continue to walk us through this slog of excellence that we subjected ourselves to, and what was next?
This next match, I know there was a real injury that occurred during this match, but I was actually extremely impressed with this next match. Santana and Ortiz versus FTR. Now, maybe I was just impressed because you pointed out what JR had said during this match, which is, hey, these guys actually follow the rules, and they actually, they make it look like a tag match, or whatever, to paraphrase what the great JR said. But I was like, okay, Santana and Ortiz, they were working like a team the entire time. Both sides were working like a team, and in a tag match, what's the gimmick?
Oh, is that a quiz question?
That's a question. Yeah.
The tag rope, baby.
The tag, baby. The tag is the gimmick, and these guys use the gimmick to perfection because I was listening to Al Snow give a speech to a bunch of wrestling students once, and he was saying it's like, look, the gimmick of a tag match is the tag. If you were in a fight and you had a chance to go 2-on-1 against a guy for a limited amount of time, you would take it every freaking time, especially if that dude could crush you, right? So I love the in-ring work. I liked what both sides were doing. The only shame is that one of the wrestlers got injured for real on the outside, and it was bleeding. It looked like a compound fracture. Cash Wheeler got hurt. But I love Santana. I loved Ortiz. I didn't hate the finish. I thought these guys put in some excellent work. And considering the 2 shit bomb segments that I saw before, and maybe it lowered my expectations, I thought this was probably one of the better tag matches between WWE and AEW, just in general, that I've seen since we've done this podcast. So I think this is the new bar in terms of tag team matches.
Well, it's the first tag match I've seen on TV since the last FTR match, so that was nice to see. And that, by the way, that includes all those Young Bucks World Tag Team title matches. So, the match itself was fine up to the injury. Santana's a star.
Yeah,
he's a future star. I mean, he looks good. He's got a presence. But with that said, I agree. It looked like a compound fracture of some kind, and it looked like when he knocked him off, when he was perched on the turnbuckle.
Yeah,
it looked like his arm hit the ring post on the way down.
Yes, it did.
And
Yes,
it
it did.
didn't. He grabbed it immediately, and then he ran over to the doctor. And then later, when the match ended, you could see the blood, and it was like, wow, like it must have poked through the skin. So that's a shame. Hopefully he'll be okay. Um, I thought they recovered nicely. Dax Harwood hit the brain buster for the win. I thought that was creative on the spot thinking.
Yeah.
So it was what it was. Where they go from here, it all depends on what they want to do with Santana and Ortiz and Conan. How this impacts the Pinnacle, we'll see. But it existed. It was what it was. I didn't feel that it was because it was cut so short. I
Yeah.
couldn't grade it higher than a C.
I completely respect that answer. For me, just based off of the fact that, to your point, Santana's a freaking star, man.
Yeah.
These guys had to think on their feet, and I would say with what they gave, with how they actually respected the gimmick of the tag, I'm gonna go B plus.
Okay.
I
I
legit. I legit respected the work that they did based off the time, and I'm not going to knock people for injuries, especially when the match itself was still good and the finish was still good, despite the fact that they, like, to your point, they had to come up with that finish like out of their ass, and it was still a great match. So, to your point, Santana's a star. They just need to figure out what to do with him. This could be his Bret Hart, Neidhart, like when him and the Hart Foundation. This could be his Hart Foundation until they figure out what to do with him as a singles competitor. So B plus for me here on this match.
All right, I can respect that.
Yep. All right, moving on to the IWGP.
Oh no!
Wait, no.
No!
What do we got next?
You are not skipping the segment. You are
Okay.
not skipping the Sting and Darby Allin segment.
Oh, my apologies. No,
I
was.
Are you kidding me? Were you testing to see if I was paying attention? Is that what this was?
No, this was me going through the Bleacher Report list, and I figured if they
man.
hold on, I figured if they gave that whole Ricky Styles freaking segment listed, they would have listed the Darby one. But I am going to turn the mic to you, sir, because you got the CM Punk shirt on. They made a special announcement about a little town called Chicago. Talk about the segment.
Well, I mean, the segment itself was pretty straightforward. I mean, CM Punk is coming without them actually saying CM Punk is coming. The confusing part of this for me is why is Darby Allin insinuating that he's going to be the one? Like anyone else could have made this statement. So I'm confused on, are they going to lead towards CM Punk versus Darby Allin? Did they just want Darby Allin to get the cool cred for actually saying the words on TV and getting the pop out of the crowd? But forgetting all that, it seems like it's about as official as it's going to get, minus him actually appearing or an official announcement. It looks like CM Punk, the best in the world, best in the world, is going to be coming back, which is surprising to me. I'm happy about it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But yeah, CM Punk is coming, and when you combine that with what we were talking about earlier with Danielson coming, and this goes back to the opening segment comment I made, you're going to elevate Adam Page and then have Bryan Danielson come in and CM Punk come in, and then what?
Only way it would work is if Punk came in and acted like a heel. But I don't know if he's going to go heel first.
After being away for 7 years and in front of that Chicago crowd, he could murder somebody and not be the heel.
Well, yeah, of course.
He could probably murder Adam Page and not be the heel.
Dude, well, we know for a fact he's going to get the biggest pop we've heard in AEW history. I think, here's my thing. Here's why I'm optimistic about it. Punk, both those guys are at such a high level. I don't know if they're quite going to negotiate what Hogan had, but it's going to be close to what Hogan had. I guarantee they're going to have creative control of their characters, and they're going to have a say as to what the story that they're in becomes. And I do feel like those guys are going to churn out some it's only going to improve the quality of the product if it's done correctly, in my opinion.
So, we can have a more extensive conversation down the road once they're actually there. But
Yeah.
here's what I'll tell you. The thing that concerns me is if everyone has creative control, and I'm getting some definite mid to late 90s Monday Night War vibes all of a sudden,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not to knock people, but it's not FTR showing. It's not newly released WWE guys showing up on AEW television. This is them poaching like primo A+ talent now, right?
Yeah.
They coax Punk out of his semi-retirement. They get Danielson over. Probably, he's going to have some deal where he can work Japan and some other stuff. But with that said, the other part of the Monday Night War vibe I'm getting is if everyone has creative control, and then so right now you got the four VPs. I'm sorry, you got Cody. Since he's a VP, he's got creative control. You got Omega, he's got creative control. You got the Bucks, they've got creative control. Now you're going to give Danielson creative control. You're going to give Punk creative control. In my mind, this is one of the things that contributed to the downfall of WCW in the late 90s. So if all of these egos and all of these people that are protective of their spot and their legacy all have creative control, and Tony Khan seems to me like the kind of guy who just wants everyone to be happy. He's the dream matchmaker right now.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when these personalities come into conflict? But you know what? That's a conversation for another day. For now, all is right with the world. The Second City Saint's on his way back. I'm a happy guy. I can break out my Punk gear. I'm getting ready. I will be one of the first to line up for an AEW CM Punk shirt. And with that, what do you think, buddy?
What do I think of CM Punk coming back? I think this is the thing that actually makes WWE have to take AEW seriously. This is the one thing that I think that would make Vince McMahon have to go, those guys. Because he was actually just quoted today. I don't know if you saw the quote, but it was, he said something like, oh yeah, this is a different time. I don't view AEW on the same level as WCW. And he almost said it's like, well, it's a place to kind of stash our talent that we don't have anything for at this time, right? So he gets Punk back, and they actually give Punk the treatment that he deserved when he was in the WWE. And Punk actually finds himself enjoying himself again, putting in his ideas, his creativity, because he is a very creative guy. He's a very smart guy. And even though he wasn't the best MMA fighter in the world, he was the best wrestler on the planet for a very long time.
Buddy. He's 0-1-1, buddy. I mean, come on.
Hey man, we're two 0-0 guys, right? So, he had more fights in the UFC than I had. I think it's nothing but I see positive, but I am concerned. Okay, because I think Kenny Omega's the kind of guy who will do silly shit and play ball. I think Cody Rhodes, in a way, since he's a VP, he will play ball. I just don't want them to have AEW to have any type of power to where they can mess stuff up for Punk, try to get him to do some crap that he doesn't want to do. And then sometimes maybe creative control, full creative control, can sometimes be a hindrance, because then you don't have roadblocks to tell you, hey man, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't go that far. Not going to say what time period that was, WCW Vince Russo era. But yeah.
Well, I said I get Monday Night War vibes, but here's the thing, right? The WWE right now, they're not threatened by anybody. Their profit margin is locked in stone. They have the Peacock deal for the network. They've got the Fox deal. It's paying them billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
The opportunity exists for AEW now to capitalize on the fact that the giant is sleeping, but they're not. It's not going to be like in the '90s when WCW almost put WWE out of business. WWE's got money coming in, and that's all that matters. The opportunity that exists is for AEW to elevate themselves. So high risk, potential high reward, but there's also that risk that exists that it could implode the way WCW imploded, and so
Yeah.
it'll be, regardless, it's going to be fascinating. And here's the other thing, like I said at the beginning, we're 23 days away from SummerSlam. The hottest night of the summer, right? The hottest event of the summer, as they used to say.
Yeah.
And the night before that, the night before SummerSlam, is not only the NXT TakeOver 36 show, which we'll talk about at the end real quick, but that's also the night that this AEW event in Chicago is happening. So that weekend, August, 19, 20, 21, right around there,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a red hot time for all the right reasons, and so I'm excited.
No, it's definitely going to be a fun time to be a wrestling fan. That is for sure. Okay, so I don't think we really need to grade that segment. I think
It's incomplete. It's an
it's
incomplete.
because what if they promise us Punk, but they didn't promise us Punk, and then they
It
bring out something like, yeah, I don't know,
it wouldn't be the first time that AEW overcommitted and underdelivered. Let's just put it that way. So like I said, I am cautiously optimistic. I don't think that they would let it get this far. I don't think that they would have one of their main babyface guys drop that comment. So I would say, it feels like it's almost a sure thing that it's going to happen. But for now, it's an incomplete, in my opinion.
I agree. We will skip creating that one. All right, next on the list is the IWGP United States Championship match between Lance Archer versus Hikilio. How? All right, here was my just quick opinion on the match. I was bored the whole match. I was just bored. The spots really didn't stick with me. I don't think these guys flowed very well with each other, and it just kind of felt like a throwaway match all in all for me. So, I mean, I really have not much to say about it. I mean, it wasn't like bad in terms of they were botching stuff left and right. I just don't feel it was a compelling story between these two guys. I mean, how'd you feel about it?
So, this match should not have existed.
Yeah.
And this match buried your main event. And I'll get to that in a second. So, Lance Archer, I like Lance Archer. Hikilio, I'm just glad I got to see Haku.
Yeah, Haku was there. That was cool.
Looking good. Hikilio is like 290 pounds. I mean, he is a big guy, right?
Yeah.
And Archer's a big guy, so you get this Haas match. But here's the problem. Archer just won the title last week, the IWGP United States title. He won it in a Texas death match. So here he is, fresh as a daisy, defending the title, and your main event is supposed to be a death match with this Nick Gage character. So basically what you just told me is that death matches are bullshit and this is all fake.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a different spot to add to that. So yeah, that could have buried it. For me, it just felt like these guys just didn't flow well together. The match itself, I'm just judging based off the work. And then, I mean, Haku coming in and getting the freaking move, that was cool. I did like that. That did get a pop from me. But then that kind of buries Hikilio in a weird way in itself, because it's okay, you had outside interference and you still lost clean. So I don't know. I know end of the day it probably won't matter because that was kind of a sleeper match. It was a throwaway match to get him to Japan, but I wasn't a fan of it.
It accomplished nothing except, in my opinion, burying your main event. And that's just, I know that maybe some people don't see it that way, but I mean, he just won the title last week in a Texas death match, like I said, and now you've been heavily promoting this Texas death match main event. You brought in the freaking lunatic that we're going to talk about in a little while, and you just, like I said, you told me that death matches are bullshit, and Jericho will be fine next week, no matter how marked up he gets. But anyway, as for the match itself, the outcome was never in question. Hikilio's green as hell. It didn't really do anything except set up by commentary, the IWGP US title match that's apparently going to happen in Japan between Tanahashi and Archer. So, overall, I just give the segment, again, it's a C segment in my mind. It didn't do anything that it wasn't supposed to do, minus the main event, but I don't think that that's really their intention, obviously. Um, but it just didn't do anything. Actually, you
Yeah,
know what? You know what? I take back my grade. It's an F minus because they screwed their main event.
they screwed their main event.
Screw them.
Um,
Screw them. It's an F minus.
F minus. All right, I am gonna give this one another D, just
Mhm.
because it was like, just judged by the work itself, wasn't a fan of it. I was lulled a lot of times, and dude, when you got two big guys out there, you could do some exciting stuff. But I just feel like maybe Lance Archer was sore as fuck from the last week, still beat up from the match. But honestly,
They could have had the announcers say that.
they
He
could
looked
have done that.
I mean, minus the bandage he was wearing on his hand, because I'm guessing he really hurt himself. It, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
D for me as well. D for me. All right, let's
I
get
will
into.
say, hang on, before we move on, I will say I did take a note on this match, because during the match, Tony Schiavone actually asked, "What do you do in a match where there's no rules?" Because he was referencing the main event, and my immediate thought was, well, you watched the opening match, so you already know what you do in a match with no rules. Anyway, back to you, sir.
Pick and choose. Okay, bright spot, because I was entertained by this next match, and I have seen Jungle Boy wrestle before, but I've never seen like entrance full match type wrestling. And this next one, I do have some critiques of it, but I did enjoy it overall, the match itself. So, first off, I thought like that Jungle Boy comes out to his entrance music. The crowd, I always have fun when I see
Tarzan
the
Boy.
crowd having fun. Tarzan
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, he's coming out. The crowd's just like, oh, singing. Then he's on Luchasaurus's back, like riding him like a dinosaur, doing Tarzan stuff. And I gotta say, even though Jungle Boy has like kind of a cartoony gimmick, he does not conduct himself like a cartoon in the ring. Like he's very, like the way he entered in was very, like he takes it seriously to an extent. So that makes me buy into the gimmick. And, so I actually I think he has some good in-ring charisma. I have not heard him on the mic yet. I do know you have tons of
Well,
critiques.
we're all still waiting to hear him on the mic.
He has not been on the mic yet.
Oh no, he's been on the mic. We're all waiting to hear him.
Oh, got it. Okay. Then Christian Cage comes in. Love this dude.
Love
and
Christian
then
Cage.
the Hardy family. This is what kind of knocked it for me. And the deal is, I don't expect wrestlers to look like roided out of their fucking mind. But I do expect you to look like, especially if you're one of the smaller guys, to look like you go to the fucking gym, to look like you lift weights, maybe take some creatine, to at least be our level, Steve. At least that, if you're going to be getting paid on national TV to be like, portray a hulking man who's supposed to be able to whoop my ass, like, and I'm supposed to believe it. So, whereas the Jungle Boy, like the whole Christian Cage and Jurassic Express, I love that, the whole thing. I felt nearly the exact opposite about the Hardy family office. It's just not my thing. They got some decent holds, some decent maneuvers. They clearly know what they're doing in the ring. It's just, when you watch something and you're just like, I don't believe you. I don't believe this. I don't know why Matt would take any of you guys under his wing. Why don't you break down your initial thoughts of the match?
Well, the Hardy family office, Angelico and Private Party, they've been booked as jokes. The whole Hardy family office is a joke. So, in terms of this match, in terms of what was good about it, I can't really point to anything that was good about it. Because it just seemed like it was there for filler, although it wasn't, and we'll get to the mindlessness at the end. But, Christian Cage, he comes over from WWE. He comes in with all of the fanfare, the outwork everybody stuff. You know, they get him into they immediately tease a match between him and Kenny Omega, and now he's doing this.
Yeah.
You know, Jungle Boy. You know, I'm a big Jungle Boy fan. Jungle Boy Jack Perry. You know, even though he can't talk, I just something about him. He's got a silent charisma, and if he could just learn to talk, he'd be awesome. But, you know, he won the Casino Battle Royal a couple weeks ago. He gets a world title match against Kenny Omega, which he lost. It was a good match, but now he's doing this.
Yeah.
So it's like they again. What's the thought process? What's the story? What's the long-term booking here? And I don't know, right? So Jurassic Express and Christian Cage, they win the match. And then we get this post-match angle, which I have two problems with, because the first is that the Blade just lost a feud with Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
And I know that we're going to disagree on Orange Cassidy. Right? And the Blade was using brass knuckles in that feud as well, right? So he loses the feud to Orange Cassidy. So now he decides he's going to go after Christian Cage. And then the way that they go about this now is, you know, the Blade's wearing the hood, he's in the crowd, and then he attacks Cage. They just had this issue with the fan that tried to hit the ring a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
I heard about that one. Yes.
And it was during the MJF Jericho segment, and it was like a big deal, and you had like AEW wrestlers on social media like going all kinds of ape shit about it. So what do they do? What do they do as a result of that? Well, the following week, last week, during the Archer Moxley title match, they did a fan spot where Archer basically used a fan as a weapon, and then they followed up with this. So, like, are you telling me you're giving me the impression that fan engagement's okay?
And that was after freaking all those guys. A lot of people in that locker room were expressing concern. They were throwing blame at various podcasters who, let's just say, do not like the AEW product. No, I agree with you on the ending. There were some cool spots that I liked. You're trying to show Luchasaurus as a beast. I actually thought that three-man, even though it was a little cartoony, that three-man suplex was pretty impressive. So for those of you who didn't see it, like, first Luchasaurus hooks one of the guys, gets the Gable grip. He's going to suplex him. That dude's going out. He reaches, grabs another guy so that they can have leverage so he can't lift them and move. And then finally the last guy is hooked up, grabs onto the rope, but Luchasaurus ends up suplexing him. I thought that was a cool spot. It was creative and it makes sense. It's like, okay, he's a monster. These dudes don't belong there with him. Clearly he's the badass. Jungle Boy had some great high spots, some great moves that were not cartoony, that actually made some sense to them. Like I said, I love high spots when they make sense. Like, it's like, hey, I'm going to jump over this rope and hit you so you can't jump in and break up the tag. Or so that it's fair, so now it's a one-on-one engagement and the babyface has a chance to take it.
So you sound a little positive about this, so I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit right now, brother.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you, before I give you my opinion, my grade, what did you grade this match?
What did I grade this match? Let me finish up because I had some critiques as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh yeah, no worries. The part that I didn't like was Christian Gage. Like, you know, it was a little thing, but it seemed effortless. He's in the corner like, come on, guys. Come on, crowd. Come on. Where I'm used to, when you're trying to hype up the crowd, in my opinion, when it, you know, maybe he was afraid the crowd would just not be into it, so he didn't want to put himself too out there. But in my opinion, when you're trying to hype up the crowd, hype up the goddamn crowd. Like, I'm like the Jimmy Hart style of where it's like, hey, get these people freaking going. Like, let's get a pop going here, because that's the whole point. It's like that whole freaking smacking the turnbuckle. That's how you get cheap heat. And I didn't like how Christian Cage brought it. In my opinion, Jungle Boy should have gotten the win. Jungle Boy or Luchasaurus should have gotten that win. Christian Cage just felt like he was in there for the sake of being there, just so they could have that moment at the very end. Because it at least had an angle somewhere to go after the match, so it made sense. It was entertaining, but I think when you book a match like this, it's supposed to be filler. And then I also think that Matt Hardy and Jungle Boy have some heat, which I do feel would be It would be a decent feud for Jungle Boy, even though I think he's like way over. Like he doesn't need to feud with Hardy. So to answer your question, I'm gonna give it a C plus.
And I had a feeling that that's where you were going with this. So for me, it was an F.
For an F.
And
Okay.
and it was an F because first of all, the match was only like a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, the absolute opposite booking, and I was about to say reverse booking, although reverse booking kind of insinuates that they started with the ending in mind and kind of worked backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone involved in this is diminished. Christian Cage is diminished. He went from being in a spot to challenge Omega, and now he's stuck in a new feud with the Butcher after feuding with Matt Hardy. 1996 called, and they want their feud back, right?
Yeah.
Jungle Boy, again, he's wildly over, but they had him, challenging Omega just a couple weeks ago for the title. Now I guess he's going to feud with Matt Hardy. Everyone's going down.
Got it.
I don't know if that's because they don't have a plan or if this goes back to what I talked about way at the beginning with Paige. Are they hitting pause or starting to drop people down because they have these big stars coming in? I don't know. But all I know is that compared to where these two guys, and I'm talking about Jungle Boy and Christian Cage, were just a couple of weeks ago, and the direction that they're heading now, and the fact that this match served as kind of a gateway to that is an absolute failure in my opinion. Regardless of, there was a couple of cool spots, but again, it goes back to my argument about this whole show. It's more about doing cool things than having it make sense from a narrative perspective and booking and making sure that they have a long-term story in mind. So for me, I have to give it an F, and I hate doing that because I am a huge Christian Cage guy. I'm really warmed up to Jungle Boy. I even get a kick out of Luchasaurus a little bit, but this just was awful.
Yeah. No, I think the growing theme here is the fact that you've been invested in this product for a while. It's my first time seeing it. So that even changed my perspective of everything. And I think you're correct, man. You hit the nail on the head. It's like if you got 2 mega stars in, that means if you're A, you go down to a B. You're B, you go down to a C. You're C, you go to a D. And D, you're probably going to have to get the fuck out. Like, that's just going to... and that's just what happens when you bring the star power in, But, I'm hoping that this is just filler until they figure out what's going on, where to place people, because I'm pretty sure Punk would work Christian Cage. I'm pretty sure Daniel would work Christian Cage. I'm sure they have a relationship with him that they'll sooner or later he'll get a shot. But that's gotta suck for him because he was probably brought back to be like, hey man, you're gonna be a big star here. You're gonna be fighting for a title, and now it's like Christian Cage is gonna be maybe one rung ahead of where he would have been in the WWE.
Well, and they're basically serving Christian Cage, I guess, for a little while now has been kind of like pseudo Jungle Boy's mouthpiece. And if you look at what they set up for next week, once they, later in the show they announced the matches for next week. One of the matches is, Christian versus the Blade with Jungle Boy as his manager. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like these were supposedly, especially in the case of Jungle Boy, one of your, on the verge of hitting, shattering the glass ceiling talents. And it seems like every time they get Jungle Boy to the point where he's about to do that, they just knock him back down. And then not only do they knock him back down, he stays down for a while.
Damn. So, kind of sounds like he's the new Bret Hart of the AEW. If you look how Bret Hart was booked in the WWF, where it's like, hey, we're going to have you high. Oh, well, actually, there's these stars that we like more. You're going to go back down. You're going to work Lawler now. And then bring him up as you need him. But end of the day, he's 24 years old. I think the kid has a freaking huge career ahead of him. And what I respect about him is I was going through his background. He didn't have any favors based on who his dad was. He started off as the indie scene, and he earned his spot. I think, let me put it to you this way. When that kid wins that belt, I'm going to fucking go berserker.
Oh, yeah.
So long as it's a great match. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go berserk.
he does not rely on his name value. As a matter of fact, for the longest time, he didn't want his father really there because the focus would be on him. And he never even used, Jim Ross started calling him Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and that was like, oh my God, like, is that okay? And even I saw an interview with Jungle Boy where even he said, he's like, well, at first, but it was Jim Ross, and I kind of understand why they're doing it. He does not rely on the name, which is a positive for him.
Yeah.
But man, he needs to learn how to talk. Like his
Yeah.
interviews are painful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll come with time. I mean, there's guys who get better over time, and then there's some guys who don't. Dean Malenko.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. You made the Bret Hart comparison. You remember how Bret Hart was on the mic?
Early on, he wasn't.
Bret Hart makes Jungle Boy makes Bret Hart look like Ric Flair on the mic.
Yeah, agreed. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Anyways, all right, so we both gave our grades to this show, this product. All right, so the next one here is we have Julia Hart.
Well,
accompanied.
So hang on. So before you get there were two segments that you bypassed, and I noted that it's not on the sheet that you're reading off of, but they did a backstage statement or a backstage segment where Malachi Black, the former Aleister Black, the former Tommy End, he attacked Cody Rhodes, right? And
yes, he did.
They're still doing their Black's wearing black, Cody's wearing white. I appreciate the subtlety. I mean, the only thing left to do is to do the WrestleMania 25 entrance where the Undertaker comes up from under the ground and Shawn Michaels comes from the ceiling.
This guy, yeah.
But they're setting up a match for next week. That'll be an interesting match because not only can the two guys go, but Cody's last couple of feuds have been pretty decisive in Cody's favor. I would hope that Cody understands the need to do business for Black here.
Yeah.
I fear he's going to beat Black cleanly, and all that's going to do is just kill any momentum that Black had. But then beyond that, they did a pre-tape with Miro, the TNT champion.
Yes, I did see that.
The former Rusev, who now is like some religious heel.
Yes. Wait, what did he say? He was something like, I love a vicious God and a double-jointed wife.
No, he said he's God's favorite. So God's favorite champion loves a double-jointed wife. Like, I don't get it. Like, can't you just let him be, the badass monster? Like, why does he, I don't get it. So anyway, those two segments happened, and then the other thing that happened before we move on to the Thunder Rosa versus Julia Hart match was they did a very quick highlight reel of Nick Gage.
Yes, they did.
Showing some of his GCW stuff. And what I will tell you is the only thing that stood out to me in this thing was that if you look in the lower left-hand corner of the video package that they're showing, it said, courtesy of an organization called Wrestling with Unicorns.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That is all you need to know. So I'm sorry, I had to go back, especially since the title was brought up. But the Malachi Black Cody Rhodes is a big new thing going on there. It does play into next week, so I wanted to make sure that we at least mentioned it. And now I'll turn it back over to you to take us to the epic encounter between Julia Hart and the newly signed Thunder Rosa.
No, I actually wanted to talk about the Cody Rhodes Malachi bit initially because the bit starts out, he's being interviewed, and then Malachi Black attacks him, which is weird. Why would they go up to the entranceway and not not just keep it a street fight? I don't know, because whenever I'm wanting to get into a fight, I want to take it to a place where there's going to be 40,000 witnesses to see the assault. But whatevs. But no, I thought the action in that was really cool. The fight, I think Cody's finish, Cody's fucking punch mixed with Malachi's kick makes it very interesting. To your point,
I love that black mass spin kick. I've
always dug that. It's beautiful. And then I love how the Job Squad comes out to save him, and then Malachi. So basically, in your opinion, who's face, who's heel here?
That's a great question because Cody is positioned as the face normally. With Black coming in the way he did, and when he debuted a couple weeks ago, he debuted by spin kicking Arn Anderson,
Yeah.
right? So you would think that makes him a heel. However, like most things in AEW, it's about who's doing cool shit.
Yeah.
So, you got Black doing the I appear and disappear when the lights go out bit that, apparently, I can't stand that stuff. But so I really don't know. I mean, in terms of what they're doing, Black is clearly the heel in storyline mode, but how the crowd reacts to them next week, who's to know? I could easily see them turning on Cody finally, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I would think with how big of a pop Malachi got, because certainly you need guys like Cody who are clearly on top, but eventually they got to lose to somebody, right? And he's got to lose clean. Do you think, okay, if he were to say, hey, Malachi, I'm going to let you win, do you think he loses clean, or do you think it's going to be a schmoz?
Well, here's the thing. I regardless, I'm still on guard because if you think back, and I know you probably didn't see it, but you remember Brody Lee, the late Brody Lee, right?
Yeah.
When Cody lost the TNT title to Brody Lee, it was a very quick couple minute, like total dominating ass whipping by Brody Lee to beat Cody and take the title, which apparently was not so much to get Brody Lee over. It was to give Cody an excuse to go away and film that TV show that he did for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then the moment he's done filming, he comes right back and he beats Brody Lee in the dog collar match and takes back the TV, the TV, it's a TV title, the TNT Championship.
Yeah.
So, even if Black beats him, I still don't know what to make of it until I see how this plays out long term, because it seems that, again, creative control, one of the vice presidents, Cody. It's funny. For as anti-Triple H as Cody is, he like the way he positions himself in AEW is so Triple H like. It's scary.
So is he banging somebody's daughter? Oh wait,
Well,
we can't go there. We can't go there.
No, have you seen his wife, Brandy? Brandy Rhodes is they just had a baby.
I have not seen his wife.
Oh,
no.
you gotta check out Brandy. She's a fine-looking lady.
A fine-looking lady, absolutely. So here's another team that I'm rooting for going into. Actually, we'll go into the GCW style. I was like, Nick Gage can't cut a promo to save his life.
No.
When I was watching that, I was like, okay, we get it, bro. You're crazy. It's like, I'm a psychopath, blah, 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 blah. Like his whole gimmick, the whole freaking death match thing. We're going to get into this, but you know what? I'll save my opinion of that situation after we get to this, amazing, wonderful, non-filler, totally threatening to Thunder Rosa match. Definitely not just meant as filler until she gets her title shot. We had Thunder Rosa versus Julia Hart, who was accompanied with the Varsity Blondes, who played cheerleader for her for a change. I'm going to get since I went first last time, I want to get your opinions first this time.
Julia Hart can't talk. They should not give her a microphone. And as if the outcome was ever in doubt, the moment they announced that she just signed a new multi-year deal before the match even starts, I just paid attention to other things because it was obvious that Thunder Rosa is going to win. They're clearly setting her up for a title match against Britt Baker. It didn't last very long. I didn't really catch much of it because I just didn't have the will to watch it.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. Julia tried. She was just completely outclassed by Rosa. No, I'm being serious. It was one of those things where she was brought in to be a glorified jobber.
It's not on the same level as Thunder Rosa.
Nowhere near. No, Thunder Rosa, you could tell, is just freaking legit. And Thunder Rosa was carrying the whole time. To Julia's credit, the match flowed at least the way it should have flowed. She was supposed to get her ass beat and to Thunder Rosa's credit, she gave Julia a little bit of offense so that, it wasn't a complete one-sided ass whooping. Varsity Blondes are just in the back because right now the whole dark side of the ring with Brian Pillman, you got Pillman Jr. back there, who I'm rooting for, by the way. I'm rooting for him. So for me, I kind of just felt meh about this. It did nothing for me. I think it was just to prove, hey, Thunder Rosa is the badass. She's the next champ. And we basically just fed a glorified jobber to her.
But again, here's the thing, right? The Varsity Blondes were there.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything. Brian Pillman Jr. he just had a TNT Championship match a couple weeks ago. This goes back to the things that bother me. The same stuff as the Christian Cage and Jungle Boy and Adam Page, just to a lesser degree. He was not featured at all. He was just out there cheerleading for Julia Hart. So is she the one that they're pushing now? Where's the follow-up for Brian Pillman Jr.? And why does Thunder Rosa could have beat anybody else? Why her? It was filler, but again, it just shines a light on the fact that, sometimes I don't know if they think through what it is that they're doing.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It didn't have enough for me to hate and I don't think it buried anybody. I actually think it raised Thunder Rosa's status, which was supposed to happen if she just signed a multi-year deal. And there was good in-ring work, by their standards. For what it was, there's good in-ring work. I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah, I would give it a C. C is average, right? I would just give it a C. It accomplished what it was designed to do, which was to get Thunder Rosa over, get her a quick win. But again, the ancillary stuff going on around it with the Varsity Blondes, and in particular Brian Pillman Jr., just didn't make sense to me. And I don't know, it just they could have done something else here, and it would have accomplished the same thing.
I completely agree. Okay, our main event. This is our first episode, by the way, folks. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we spent 1 hour of talking about this match, and half of it was just wondering if this crazy dude who likes to slice people up with a freaking pizza cutter, Nick Gage, would actually protect Chris Jericho. Would he actually look like he's able to wrestle with a guy like Chris Jericho? Even if he's like a 50-year-old Chris Jericho, could you even hang with a 50-year-old Chris Jericho? We have the no rules match, because you can't call it a death match. It's a no rules match with Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage. MJP was in the... he was on commentary booth. That was actually the one part I liked, was, that actually was some good heel commentary.
Yeah, MJF can talk.
MJF can talk. And then you had Painmaker Chris Jericho. And Steve, why don't you give us your analogy of Painmaker Chris Jericho? Let's not go into the match yet, but let's tell the folks at home just how much you love the Painmaker gimmick and why you love that Painmaker gimmick so much with every fiber of your being.
He just looked like fat porcupine Sting. He comes out with that spiked, the spiked jacket, and then he takes the mask off, and he's got the low rent face paint on, and it's just and he looks like a blowfish. Nothing but respect for Chris Jericho, but man, eat a salad, Whoo, boy.
Here's the thing, man. Before getting into a ring, I would imagine, it wouldn't be to the degree of what we did when we got on stage a couple months ago, but I would definitely want, visible abs, maybe minimize the obliques, maybe look like I've worked out.
Don't talk about Nick Gage like that.
I guess we're talking both. All right. The gentleman he is fighting on the other side of the ring, because I don't know if we could call it wrestling, whatever the fuck we saw in that match, was Nick Gage. Nick Gage is famous for the indie scene, and he does a bunch of death matches, primarily for a company called GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. This match opens up. The two circle the ring, And Nick Gage is holding a freaking pizza cutter the entire time, and it's not even like it's like, hey, we're gonna lock up and wrestle. He's trying to slash Chris Jericho until he actually does slash Chris Jericho, opens up a nice cut on his arm, which it leads to us being like, oh shit, Chris Jericho's in danger. And I'm not gonna lie, Steve, this whole match, it was slightly better than what I thought it was going to be, only because I was preparing for the worst, but it's still a shit grade, in my opinion. The whole time, I'm watching the spots, and I wasn't even I didn't care about the work so much. I was like, okay, I was looking for like those little things, like, okay, is Nick playing ball? Is he taking care of Chris? Is this all planned? Is this all worked? Was this all agreed upon? But some of those spots were just absolutely atrocious. Why don't you walk the people through a little bit of some pieces of the match? Let's actually walk them through like the narrative, like what actually unfolded that time before we give our opinion, because I feel like we really should break that part down.
Well, just real quick before we get into that, the thing that stands out to me is Chris Jericho has become like your crazy grandfather who's trying to recapture his youth, right? So like he starts doing things like it's like seeing grandpa on a skateboard. Like he thinks it makes him look cool to the younger folks, but the younger folks that are looking at him just think he looks crazy, and then the people that are of his era just look at him and wonder like, why the hell are you doing this? Like, it's dangerous, you can get hurt. The fact that you're 50 doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you shouldn't do it because you've earned the right to not have to do it.
Exactly.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to piggyback off your point. I even said that on my Instagram yesterday. I was like, Chris Jericho is 50 years old. He does not need to be doing this to himself right now. And I feel like there's certain guys who a guy like Nick Gage wrestles, and Chris Jericho should not be one of them. And that's how I felt. And I feel like you want to talk about degrading yourself. Like, Chris Jericho, I understand these are the labors to get to the championship, right? But he's in a death match with an indie wrestler who was only famous based off of a Dark Side of the Ring episode and trying to kill David Arquette for real in the ring. That's it. That's literally what the source of this guy's fame was. I mean, they hit a few moves on each other. They worked stiff. Nick Gage no-sold him a few times. I don't know if you saw that, but he no-sold a chair shot. He no-sold when he kicked out. So for those of you who didn't see it, consider yourself lucky. Or if you like train wrecks, go ahead and watch it. But there's a spot in the match which took Nick Gage it felt like 8 minutes to set up. And I think you know the spot I'm talking about, where he sets up 2 chairs as a platform, sets up a sheet of glass, and you could tell he couldn't find where the glass was because he was looking side to side to side for ultimately, and I think you saw this too, he actually had to go to one of the ring workers and like, hey, where the fuck is the glass, right?
Yeah, if I were Chris Jericho, I'd be pissed off because here's another instance again, much like the referee at the beginning in the first match, where apparently there's people that work for this company that are willing to help certain wrestlers hurt other wrestlers. Like it looked awful. And especially in this case, and I'll let you get back to it, but Nick Gage doesn't work for the company. He was brought in as a mercenary, and now apparently there's somebody that works for AEW who's going to help him get glass so that they can go cut up Chris Jericho. Like I saw that, and I just started just sitting there just being like, if you can't do it, don't.
Exactly, 100%. That's how I felt. And then part of me was like, every single time they utilize the freaking light bulbs, those big, long, tubular light bulbs. I was praying that those were made with plexiglass, with candy glass, with fake glass. I was hoping they were. I hope they were. I want to believe that they were made with plexiglass.
They look like the real deal to me, bud.
I mean, well, I'm looking at the TV production value, and then, well, here's the deal. I don't think that baseball bat, no. Jericho is not clean of this here, right? Because then you had Jericho hit this guy with a baseball bat 4 times. And I don't know about you, Steve, but if somebody hit me with a baseball bat clean 1 time, I am down. I'm down. I'm out. The only movement I have is maybe try to like get away or protect myself from further bat shots. But apparently Nick Gage can take 4 shots with a baseball bat, which we were just making fun of the other week, which was like, it's 4 baseball bat shots, which is attempted murder.
Nah, that's the power of meth, bud. Meth is a hell of a drug, apparently. It makes you immune to baseball bats.
So we had the baseball bat gimmick. And then you remember the first episode we did, my fear was like, what if this dumbass gets them kicked off TV? And lo and behold, what does he do? He takes one of the light bulbs, breaks it on his knee, and creates a shiv with said light bulb. And then takes that shiv against one of the most decorated wrestlers of all times and proceeds to jab him and create some serious color about 12 to 15 times with a makeshift shank. That is what's happening to a 50-year-old Chris Jericho. Let's see, what other spots am I missing? Oh, the mist. The mist.
Oh, God, yeah.
So after just watching shit show deathmatch wrestling where freaking the only entertaining part of the whole match was the heel commentary and me just hoping to freaking Christ that this idiot doesn't hurt Chris Jericho for real. I'm literally scared for Chris the whole match, bro. Like the whole match. I'm terrified for this person for real. This is not suspending my belief. This is, hey, is this going to be the last time I get to see Chris Jericho wrestle and it's going to be this shit show? At the end of the match, like Chris's face was just caked with blood. The ending ended with him spitting mist into Nick Gage's eyes, hitting that. I like his new finish because that's one of my favorite strikes to hit is the reverse elbow.
Yeah, the Judas elbow.
The Judas elbow hits him down, gets the 1, 2, 3. And before we break down what the next match is going to be, which goes into what you and I were discussing again, it was like everything we talked about was foreshadowed in this match here. It was like you could go back and listen to us on episode 1 and it's going to be the same shit we're talking right now. But Steve, like, what was your opinion of this? Like when you saw the shiv happen, when you saw this freaking this meth head make a makeshift shift and start stabbing Chris Jericho in the head with it, what were your thoughts here?
Well, you know, I gave Chris Jericho credit for being brave and volunteering to let this maniac do that, but at the same time, you know, there's such a thing as being so brave you're just stupid. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So, it all starts at the beginning, right? The whole presentation was just, you got this national TV audience, you got this high budget production. They introduced Nick Gage as Nick effing Gage.
Yeah. And
I'm like, oh, here we go, right? So, at least they're keeping it classy. And then you walked us through some of the stuff. The one thing I will say though is I hope Drew McIntyre was watching this, because when Nick Gage brings the pizza cutter to the ring, hopefully next time McIntyre will remember to bring his sword to the ring. Hey, you got a weapon. Hey, and is Nick Gage smarter than Drew McIntyre? I don't know. I would think not, but who knows?
Okay, so we have picked one thing that Nick Gage can do better than Drew McIntyre, which is, hey, if we're in a no DQ match and you got a pizza cutter, use the pizza cutter.
I'm fairly certain Nick Gage is probably better at smoking meth than Drew McIntyre is as well, but
you know what? I have that has remained to be seen, and how dare you? How dare you? Okay, for all you know, freaking Drew McIntyre could be the greatest meth addict of all time. Okay? Nick Gage, like, you don't just give a man that title, you make him earn it. Don't feel sorry for him. Make him earn that title.
I don't want to speak ill of people's appearances, but did you see Nick Gage's teeth?
I saw his teeth. I heard his promo. His promo was that of a man who is not all there.
His speaking style on promo looked exactly like the tweet that he made right before the match. Did you happen to see the tweet that he made right before the match?
No, I did not. I don't follow Nick Gage's Twitter, but I did see the follower count. You know how many more followers he got from this match?
How many?
0. He was still at the same
Really?
amount. Oh, actually, I'd say 2,000 more. No, he went from 27,000 to 29.8 thousand. So at least, like the whole death match community did not like grow exponentially because of this match.
So I'm gonna read this for you real quick. Tonight is the night, MDK, that's the murder, death, kill. GCW gang, you already know we roll tonight. We show the world, Chris Jericho, you're in deep shit, bud, and it's not looking good for you. I'm just being honest. I didn't come here to play games. Oh, and MJF, have my money ready, or I'll stomp you out to MDK AEW tonight on TNT. And I read it that fast because there was no punctuation. And when I read that, I'm like, that's really how he talks.
Yeah.
Like I said, meth is a hell of a drug, right?
Meth is one hell of a drug. I mean.
So, yeah. This whole thing was a debacle.
It was.
And hey, you know, here's what I will tell you. If I were Chris Jericho, I would be pissed off. Because the moment Gage started like really cutting into him and getting out the furniture and the glass and the light tubes was when they were in the middle of a commercial and it was in the little picture-in-picture on the side. So when it's actually not a commercial and it's on the big screen, they're showing Nick Gage trying his, you know, by the way, Nick Gage's wrestling offense is not fit for high definition television because it looked faker than hell.
Yeah.
He did the world's shittiest looking Falcon Arrow.
Yep.
Right? So, you know, it's just so anyway, and you know, you could see Jericho calling the spot where he tells Gage to shove him into the ring post and Jericho puts his hand up. It just, that stuff didn't look good. But then you get to the meat, right? You get to the point where they start busting out the furniture. They come back for one other thing, by the way, and I thought this was funny. You know, during the commercial when Gage is pulling out all the furniture and you could see that he has some of Jericho's blood on his face and a little bit in his mouth. At that exact same time, there was a commercial on, at least on my feed, for this immune system boosting drink.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, man, like, you know, talk about some good product placement right there. You know, like, that's better product placement than the Space Jam thing they did at the beginning, man. Like, that was like...
Money. I give you that, bro. I give you that. That's the one thing I will say about the AEW product. It's like, look, either cut to commercial or give me wrestling. Like, I know they want to keep the action on. And, you know, I guess to a point, it's better that way because you at least get to see what's happening during commercial. But did it feel like for you that 40% of their presentation was a fucking commercial break?
Yeah. All the setup for the end came during the commercial break. Like, why couldn't you just cut to commercial before you start the match? It didn't make any sense, and putting it picture in picture doesn't take the responsibility off of the production of this, and you know how they space it out. Hey, we're gonna go to commercial here. We'll do some light stuff on the outside, and then when we know we're back on, we'll continue. You know, I don't like having to watch like this and like what the hell's going on. It made it look amateur.
Yeah.
But you know, other than that, you know, you got Jericho doing the top rope Hurricane Rana on Gage through the setup pane of glass, and then the thing that, again, it takes me out of the moment, right? MJF on commentary saying, "I didn't think Chris would take it to this level." Dude, you booked him in a fucking death match.
Yes.
Like, come on. And then immediately after that, he does the top rope Hurricane Rana on Gage through the pane of glass, right?
Yep.
He covers him. Gage kicks out immediately and then basically completely no-sells the spot by sitting there and wagging his finger. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. He went into business for himself a few times. Like, there was a clear chair shot from Jericho. Now, I don't know if he just didn't hit it hard enough, so like he didn't maybe pulled it too much, but he no-sold the chair shot. And I'm supposed to believe that you're going to kick out of a Hurricane Rana through plain glass, but that spinning back Judas elbow, you're going to go straight down and stay down. Yeah, I mean, I think we both know what our grades are going to be for this.
Well, and then one other or two other things real quick before we get to the end, right? So then after the no sell kick out, the finger wag, right? Then Jericho takes a completely unprotected light tube shot to the head.
Yes.
Right? Which, that stuff can get in your eyes.
Yep.
That was stupid. And then they immediately follow that up with a pile driver on the glass shards.
That is why, right there, I think that the tubes were fake. That part I think was fake.
But when you saw Jericho when he tried to do the code breaker and he got dropped on the glass and he turned around, like his back was all scratched up. I mean, like it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And just because
I'm hoping that they did, but
yeah.
it either way, just dangerous and unnecessarily dangerous for a guy of the stature of Chris Jericho. And the fact that this happened and it happened the way that it did means that it's something that Chris Jericho approved of and most likely wanted to do. I don't get it. I just don't.
All right. So
he's grandpa on a skateboard.
He is grandpa on a skateboard. I mean, it's very clear that we're both A+ on this match. I mean, it's so I want to grade the match itself, and I feel like the Labor 3, the setup, deserves its own grade because I've got my problems with that, and it goes back to our first episode. But basically, I think this match went about as well as it could have gone, and it's still an F for me. Like, it's an F- for me. I mean, you have MJF, who's at least kind of telling a story in the ring, kind of at least making it known, like, hey, I'm putting Jericho through this. Like, he's getting heat as a heel. That was probably the only freaking thing that happened well in this match. The dignity of the Jericho legacy, I don't know if this will kill it, but it definitely leaves a fucking shit-stained asterisk mark on his legacy. I mean, it's just that for me. And I mean, Gage, if you're Gage, you're the clear winner in this match as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
yeah. You fought in front of more people than you've ever wrestled in front of. You gain 3,000 social media followers. That's not small anymore. It is harder to get people to hit the follow button. So
this is
yeah,
true.
good,
this is true.
Good for him. National TV time. Wrestled a guy like Chris Jericho. I mean, here's the thing, though. He gave up the belt in his last organization. Do you think that every once in a while he's going to be like a henchman of sorts, like a punishment for people? Because I'm not going to watch this guy every week, because if you're on a television program every week, that means eventually you're going to have a non-deathmatch match, and this guy can't have a non-deathmatch match. Not based off what I've seen.
The only person that gets punished watching him is me. And you.
And me. And the people who just sat through that. I mean, look, it got some pops, but it got like train wreck pops. It got like the what the hell pops. But
it's the theme that I've been saying. It's cool shit versus
substance.
What makes sense from a narrative perspective. So, I'll let you finish your thought before I get to my grade, but what else were you thinking here, brother?
I think we covered everything that I was thinking. For me, it was just like dignity of Jericho. If you were going to do this match, it made sense to make it because he's going to do 4 labors before he fights MJF, not 5. MJF is the 5th labor. So in my opinion, if you're going to do this and actually try to kill this guy, it should be labor number 4. If you were going to bring out the whole Painmaker gimmick, it should come at a time where Jericho ramps up almost and like, all right, I'm tired of being pushed around. I'm going on offense. And he should have almost taken the character into a direction where he would have stricken fear into MJF. Because if this match happened before, you could salvage something here, right? And I'm just like playing armchair
Fantasy Booker.
fantasy booker.
booking?
I'm just playing fantasy booker here and how I would fix it, right? Like, okay, if you have to do this deathmatch angle, if you have to do it, it should have been labor number 4, as we both discussed in the first podcast. And if he's gonna bring out Painmaker, for the love of God, put some effort into the makeup, and really use something that'll strike some fear into the heel, because after this, you're next. And after what you've tried to do to me with these other 4 labors, I'm freaking coming for you. And you almost have to make Jericho teeter on the brink of sadistic just enough to actually be like, oh, this is why MJF is afraid of him. This is why he put him through all this. This is why he put us through 4 weeks of this bullshit, because he doesn't want to fight him, because Jericho still has some dog in him. That's one way they could have salvaged this. It still would have been shit, but at least it would have added to a bigger story. For me, it was out of place. It was, to your opinion, hey, let's just show some cool stuff for the sake of showing some cool stuff. That's why I give it an F. F minus for sure. You know what? No. We're going to give this a gym class F. Gym class F. For me. So.
Well played, sir.
I turn it to you. Well, that's our theme. Like we kept going F minus minus minus, and then you coined the phrase gym class F. So it is a gym class F for me.
Yeah, you know, I give Jericho credit for being braver than smart, I guess. But everything about this just diminished everyone involved except for Nick Gage. So the only guy who doesn't need elevating, and the only guy involved in this who doesn't work for your company, was the one that benefited the most. And then again, you know, narrative, right? So you're in the middle of these labors. So we go from Shawn Spears in a one-way chair match, which is a great, you know, that's a fine way of starting this off, right? Straightforward. They then immediately jump to Nick Gage in this death match, and now what do they do for number 3?
Let's hold off. Let's hold off on that part. I wanted to get this match first because I feel like the reveal could be its own thing.
Well, you know, but it all goes into the package, right? So
That's true.
we can talk about that in a minute. So, you know, even if you leave out the third labor, right? The direction that they're going in just doesn't make any sense. The prize at the end for Jericho for agreeing to do this doesn't make any sense. He's already taken on MJF 3 times, once in the War Games, you know, Blood and Guts match, and then twice in those Stadium Stampede, you know, choreographed, you know, pre-recorded matches. So why he would volunteer to go through this just to have a match with MJF, it doesn't make sense. If anything, it should be the opposite way. It's not, because now Jericho's the babyface. So nothing about this really worked for me. You know, seeing a high budget version of the stuff that goes on in the backyard down here in Delaware, you know, with the CZW stuff. You know, I could have lived without seeing it. I would much rather see something that, I don't want to say safer, but safer. And something that actually makes sense in the context of the narrative. You know, I said a theme for me throughout all the 3 episodes we've done so far, but it's going to continue to be a theme, is I like logic, I like consistency, I like a good storyline, and this just doesn't, it felt out of place. I think you said that. It didn't make sense, and so for me, the whole presentation was just an F, which, you know, they bled buckets in the ring to get F grades. Not that they're doing this necessarily for me and you. And there's certainly a subset of people that are going to like what they saw. Yeah. But again, cool shit versus stuff that makes sense versus a narrative flow. It didn't work. It was an F.
Yeah, I think...
Gym Class F.
Gym Class F. There we go. Okay, so before we go into the whole AEW production, which, you know, now that I've had a chance to reflect on everything, my initial conversation that we had offline has completely changed. Just because, when you get to like reflect on things, right? So when you watch it live, you're entertained, and then when you look back, it's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't really make sense. This doesn't really make sense, and it just feels like you have ultimately a Rich Mark calling the shots, right, of this whole production. And people who don't understand substance, booking, and things of that nature, they're really thinking in terms of, okay, like they're not trying to tell a story. It feels like if I'm flipping channels, right? And now I've got like 1,000 channels I could possibly watch. What spectacle can I put that if you're just flipping through, you're going to stop for 2 to 3 minutes to see what the hell is going on? That's what it feels like. And they could still do that, but they could still deliver a story also. And I think that's the key ingredient that's missing here. But when I look at the AEW product, I see potential. Like, I do see a lot of potential there. I see a lot of talent, but it's the WWE thing, but it's kind of it's kind of this weird thing where you have these amazing wrestlers, but just not great booking and not great storytelling. That's kind of what I get here. But moving on to just to move on so we can wrap up the final match. I love what is going to happen because I did watch the Jericho, Juventud Guerrera, WCW battles, but here's the stipulation. He has to hit a top rope maneuver on Juventud Guerrera to get the finish. This
did they actually announce that?
Yeah, they announced it. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so I finally caught one that you missed, and you've caught a bunch that I missed. That's fine.
I missed that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So MJF comes out and says, hey, you have to hit a top rope maneuver against Juventud Guerrera. But then they show like a flashback. After the death match. This feels like the first... Okay, if we go in order now, if we were to logically put this in order, the first labor had a weapon in it. This match likely will not have any weapons in it, so this one should have gone first. Then if you wanted to bring it up in intensity, you should bring the chair versus no chair stipulation, which I actually thought was pretty good, much like yourself. That should have been second. Third or fourth should have been this death match, because now you're not rising, you're not elevating. Now you're really just being like, hey, well, people like Jericho and Juventud back in the day, so let's just have that. So this segment itself, even though I'm gonna have a huge nostalgia bomb, and I know it's not gonna be as good as what these guys used to be, but I'm still gonna love it. But to your sake, but for what you were saying, I mean, when I say I'm gonna love it, I'm gonna love the in-ring action. But to your point, this is just cool shit for the sake of doing cool shit. I don't think they're trying to bury Jericho or the story. I just think they're doing it to themselves because they were probably in a writer's meeting and we're just like, what should we do next? Come on, quick. Give me some ideas. But anyways, I digress. How did you feel about this next labor?
You said it. I mean, here's the thing. Sure, I have a nostalgia kick for Juventud Guerrera versus Chris Jericho. I can fire up Peacock right now and actually see it when they were both fast and young and good. I don't need to see 50-year-old Chris Jericho versus 50-whatever-year-old Juventud Guerrera. So I'm sure from the tickling my nostalgia. Sure, I was like, oh, Juventud, okay, great. What's Juventud been up to lately? But again, you said it in terms of the sequencing. I would disagree slightly. I would have still started with Shawn Spears first. Then you go to the nostalgia shot here.
Okay, yeah.
And then elevate it to the death match. The death match is the one that's out of sequence because it's so extreme and so to the right.
Yeah.
So even adding the stipulation of Jericho has to hit a top rope move, they just threw him off a freaking cage a couple weeks ago. So why is that such a big deal? Why would I be afraid of, semi-retired 50-some-odd-year-old Juventud Guerrera after I just beat this freaking maniac with, who put me through plate glass? So it's wow, that would be cool versus
exactly.
How does this make sense? And by the way, again, from a narrative perspective, I guess MJF didn't have a whole lot of confidence in Nick Gage being able to accomplish the job because apparently he already picked up the phone and had conversations with Juventud and already, gave him whatever deal he's going to need to do to come on in and do this. Obviously, that's not what happened. But again, from a narrative, Nick Gage should have killed him.
Yeah.
Could have killed him.
So
then MJF could have saved his money. He didn't need to pay Juventud.
So to your point, he didn't even have to cut that promo at the end. He could have just rage quit, walked away, gave Jericho somewhat of a win, like, you foiled my plan. And then next Wednesday, bring it up because now you would have a whole week because you were so confident that this was the one that was going to take him out.
Yeah, just let MJF's everything except the name drop, right? Just have him say, hey, I didn't think you were going to survive. You know what? That's fine. You still have 3 labors to go. And next week, I'm going to have a very special surprise for you. Okay. But
Boom.
Immediately, I mean, he's still covered in blood.
Yeah.
The blood was caked onto his face. And then he's like, I'm sorry. I'm a little more worried about the maniac with the pizza cutter and not the guy who I had a match with, an actual wrestling match with 28 years ago. So, whatever.
Yeah, so I think the recurring criticism we're going to give WWE is sometimes great booking, sometimes terrible booking. They'll elevate one thing while they completely destroy another thing. AEW, it seems like the common theme is booking that doesn't quite make sense because it's not meant to push along storylines. It's mainly used because they feel like this is the Attitude Era and they need to get those TV ratings, so they want to get as many eyeballs as they can, playing kind of old school mid 90s to early 2000s type television production mentality in their head.
You said it earlier. It's fantasy booking, right? It's Tony Khan just doing what candidly what I would probably do if I had his bankroll and had my own wrestling company, right? But the continuing hot-shotting of everything, the lack of consistency in the narrative, the kind of the changing of directions. They're starting with Page, they're stopping with Page. They might be bringing people in. They're starting with Jungle Boy, stopping with Jungle Boy. Christian's going to challenge for the title. Now he's not. The stuff that separates a good wrestling company, in my opinion, is the fact that they're able to have self-control and maintain a reverence and a consistency to the narrative that they're establishing. They're blowing through specialty matches and feuds in a matter of weeks, and eventually that's going to catch up to you. And the crowd's going to become numb to it, and then you're just going to be left with a bunch of talent.
You're gonna be Impact at that point. It's just gonna be Impact at that point. Well, I mean, he's got some pretty deep pockets, but yeah, overall, what would you grade this show? Because we had a lot of D's, a lot of F's, and there was not too many bright spots on either side of of this review.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Like, the show is oddly entertaining.
Yes.
At points, if I can turn my brain completely off, right? So, to me, the show was a D. I'll give it the same grade we gave Raw, a D+.
Yeah.
That I gave Raw, a D+.
Yeah. For me, here's what I'll say. There were spots, and I think I've called a lot of those spots out, like you, that was entertained. Like Jungle Boy's entrance, where you see people having fun and singing along with the entrance and legitimately having a good time. I like that. When I was watching the television production in the beginning, where they were talking about, we all got cowboys and this and that. That part I was like, dude, well, at least I'm talking about the quality of the product.
Yeah.
Like the quality. I was like, this looks like a UFC fight. This looks like, okay, you are packaging your product great. Granted, there were some miscasts.
Yeah, until you see Evil Uno doing cowboy shit. Yeah.
Exactly. Until you see Evil Uno, and then you got your heels doing things that maybe your mid-card baby faces should be doing with like the silly gimmicks. Yeah, I'm gonna go one tick above. I'm gonna give it a C-, just because I was thoroughly entertained while I watched it, and it's got 2 bright spots that Raw did not have, and I've come to this conclusion. Like Raw I feel like we're way more critical of because we have to sit through 3 hours of it. At least with this, it's 2 hours of guys doing cool shit for the sake of doing cool shit. There's no AR entrances, and there's parts of the show where I was legitimately having fun, rooting for certain guys, enjoying myself. And, there are some future stars in there, assuming that the adults come. Two of the adults come, see what's happening, and it's going to boil down to this. Are these two guys coming in because they want to make a fuckload of money before they go? Now, that could be good for the product, too. Or are they coming into this because they see something, potential in something, and they know they have the names, the skill, and the creativity to help make it into something significantly better than what it is? Or are they just like, fuck it, Tony, you're paying us a fuckload of money. We're going to come do some cool flippy flips and get paid.
Time will tell.
Exactly. I'm hoping, I'm hopefully optimistic that both guys care so much about their legacy that they won't at least let their stories be crap. But in fairness, though, when you actually go back and you watch the whole Raws during the Attitude Era, there were some fillers. There were some throwaway matches. There was some dumb gimmicks and bad booking. Like, every era in wrestling had it. But at least they tried to tell a semblance of a story, and they tried to work things in. But, yeah, I think I'm rambling at this point now.
Your narrative right now is more coherent than the narrative that they weave through the show, sir.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I'm just, trying to, break down my thoughts, because on one end I see exactly what you see, and then on the other side I see limitless potential because a lot of their stars are younger and they're doing something way better than WWE is which they're at least trying to build up their young guys on the AEW side, because Jungle Boy's 24, MJF's only 25. You have younger guys who are rising, so I think they're doing that well. It's entertaining, but...
Well, the one thing that keeps me coming back is that there's always nuggets, right?
Yes.
I say D+ for this show. I would be willing to raise the grade on this show depending on what they do next week. Do they pay off the stuff that they set in motion this week? And unfortunately, it's just very inconsistent, and I have no faith. Like I said, I'm still afraid that they're going to have Cody beat Black clean.
Damn. And Cody beating... That would just bury him before he even got there, because right now he comes in, he's Mystique, he's a badass.
That's what they do.
Well, then what would really be good for business is if Cody's not willing to do the job, have him work with somebody who is willing to do the job. And then if you want Cody to beat him, actually build him up by destroying half the locker room, and then fight Cody.
But that's the problem, right? Because I said Cody's the Triple H, right? By just being in the ring with me, it elevates you. You know who had a big problem with Triple H saying that? CM Punk.
Yes, he did. Historically had a problem with him saying that. And you know what CM Punk told Triple H? He's like, with all due respect, I do not need to wrestle you. You need to wrestle me.
So those are the mentalities, my brother.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, so we have been bad about this, but I feel like we have such a great product now, or it's a way more entertaining product than the first two episodes. We are getting much better. Steve, where can the people at home follow you on social media?
I'm on the gram, brother. Steve Slammer on the Instagram. Hey, one other thing before we close this out, I'd be remiss to not mention that NXT, which we don't really do breakdowns on, but Samoa Joe is back full time. He's been cleared, and at Takeover 36, the day before SummerSlam, the same day that one best in the world might be reappearing on the wrestling scene, we have Samoa Joe challenging Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. And then for the NXT United Kingdom Championship, We have Ilya Dragunov challenging Walter. I love Walter. I don't know if you're familiar with Walter. If you're not, get familiar with Walter because Walter is fucking awesome. But with that said, you can find me on the Instagram, Steve Slammer, and you'll tell the folks where they can follow us both. But with that, I'm going to turn this back over to you to take us home, sir. Take us home.
Let's take this podcast home, baby. All right, you can follow me, Jack Slammer Fitness, on the Instagram as well. We are the Slammer Bros on Instagram. We are the Slammer Bros on YouTube, the Slammer Bros here on Twitch, and I am going to be submitting this to everywhere. We are going to be available wherever podcasts are available. That was a great review of AEW. In this case, you got to witness the opinion of somebody who's viewing the product for the first time and somebody who knows the product extremely well. So hopefully you enjoyed that, because we enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be back Saturday to review WWE SmackDown. And I cannot wait for that one because I love what they're doing with Roman Reigns right now. Tune in.
Roman Reigns is not missionary position.
He is not missionary position, and neither are we.
No,
See you
sir.
folks. See you folks on Saturday. Bye-bye.